and you stand with the other reps. You know, I mean, she's leading the fight, but there are others there who are working with her as well. And I believe, you know, the entire Republican caucus is working hard with her and following.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people working against her.
That's
like
right.
To keep
the system.
Keep giving away money.
But I think you can, you know, you use the bully pulpit. You make a lot of noise. You speak to the issue. But I think there are some common sense reforms that you can call for. I think pictures on EBT cards, you know, so that they can't be used by someone other than the one to whom it's given. I think that you don't allow them to be used for cash advances. That's the biggest abuse of them.
Yeah.
Being able to go to an ATM and gather the money off, it's crazy. I think that stores, before they're able to accept EBT cards, need to go through an approval process so that there isn't any abuse there. And I think that if anybody abuses or allows someone else to use their EBT card or they sell it in any way, they should lose the privilege of having one. Right. Those are just common sense reforms that we can do. But as I said to Sean, I was with her just last week and we were talking about this very issue. And I thanked her for the good work that she was doing, because once again, as a pastor, one of the things that we find, and it's not just me, but it's the pastor of all the churches, we come to the end of the month and the people, when they run out of money, and some for legitimate reasons, but others because they have squandered their funds on various things. And now they're coming to the churches and saying, help me, I don't have food, I don't have oil, I don't have this, I don't have that. And you know, we're limited as to what we can do, and oftentimes we do what we can, but it's frustrating that there isn't any, you know, stronger oversight being given to this.
No, also, and believe me, it is a majority that abuse these and take advantage of the system. There's no incentive for these people to get off the system.
Right.
I mean, at this point in time, there are now generations of people, generations of families that have grown up squarely, you know, on the public's tab, that have, you know, this is the only life they know.
Yeah, and you know, that's why people say to me, you know, we need to just deal with economic issues and leave the social issues alone. And that's a social issue, but it has real economic ramifications for us.
It's got a lot of economic ramifications.
And you know what I say, you know, as I've been out on the trail talking with different people, I said, you know, we may not all agree on every issue as it relates to you know, various social issues, but one thing we can all agree on is having children is a bad thing.
Right.
We need to, you know, find a way. We need to bring everybody to the table: churches, educational institutions, foundations, business. You know, government needs to be a catalyst toward bringing all them together so that we can solve some of these problems. If we can just scale back, you know, the amount of out-of-wedlock births, not to preach at them or to, you know, make them feel guilty. That's not really the point, but to show them a better way of securing their future. If we can just cut that back just 10%. You know, the thousands of dollars we're going to save both in the short term and in the long term. We need to do those kinds of things. We need a senator who understands how you bring all these people together. And so Sean and I talked a little bit about that and how to do some of those things. And so you said, how can we help? These are some of the things that we can do. I don't believe that government should be the dominant partner in that. I believe that the government should be a catalyst only. Let the private sector take care of these things. They can do it much more efficiently.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about our current different tax rates, that especially the ones that have gone up, like the sales tax now is 6.25, and you know, and our Senator Timothy did vote for that, I believe, and I, you know, I can't justify that raise in taxes. And would you be willing to look at repealing that or going back?
I have already signed a pledge to do just that.
Okay.
To bring it down, you know, back down to 5%.
Okay.
And you know, we certainly would be on board.
So okay, so you've said it, but I'll repeat it. So you agree with me that we don't have a spending problem. We have a spending problem, not a revenue problem.
That's correct. And you can see that with, you know, the extra money that came back to cities and towns, which I'm very grateful that money came back to our cities and towns.
Yeah.
But what that's a representative is that we were overtaxed.
But doesn't that seem to increase on election year?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does.
Seems these things seems to work out. If you notice, like in general, gas prices go down a little bit, and you know, things get a little, you know, some of the heat gets turned off a little bit, and things look like they're going to get better around election time, and then the door slams right after election.
Right. And even now, if you've read the headlines, in the Herald and other newspapers, governors are saying it's going to be another tight year, which is another way of saying time to raise taxes again, time to start talking about gas taxes, time to talk about candy taxes, time to start talking about various other revenue enhancing measures and fees.
So we need more money, and we're not going to cut anything.
Right, so that we don't have to cut anything. And if you don't do this, we're going to cut it back and cut it back and cut it back. I believe that the priority is all wrong. I think we actually need to get more money into the local communities and take more of it away from Beacon Hill. Our local communities are much smarter at using their money. They watch it much more carefully.
A lot of the committees are bogged down by the never-ending unfunded state mandates. I mean, when does that stop?
When you decide enough is enough and you stop it.
Our school system had to go out and buy another software package this year to comply with another stupid mandate by the state. It's like, an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Right.
And when does it end?
Well, once again, I run a private school, so we fall under a lot of those mandates as well. And while I'm not opposed to bullying. I mean, I am opposed to bullying. I'm not opposed to bullying policies and establishing bullying policies. But there were hours that were put in by our school staffs at having to, come up with those things. That's, once again, a mandate. It took a lot of man hours. Yeah. I go by our public schools and I look at lights that are on late into the evening, and you know who they are? They're our school nurses who have enough paperwork that they have to fill out. If a child sneezes 3 times in a day, they've got to fill out paperwork on it.
It really is.
It's ridiculous. It's out of control. State mandates on our schools. All kinds of reporting requirements. It's time to let our school committees handle our schools. We elect them to do that. We need to trust them to do that. They're our fellow citizens.
And if you don't like what they're doing, you can do something about it.
But if you go to the school committee meetings, and I have, if you go to city council meetings and select meetings, and you have as well, you see our city councils and our school committees. They're discussing every expenditure down to pennies.
Right.
But up on Beacon Hill, they'll blow through $100 grand and not even blink at it.
No, and they get paid for it.
And that's right.
They get paid for it. They get their pensions and their salary and all their little stipends.
Our city councilmen, our selectmen, our school committee members, they do yeoman's work, both parties. Because they set aside the partisanship and they just focus on what's good for them. They don't always agree, and there's always going to be a little bit of bumping heads when they come to those things. But they do yeoman's work, and we need to appreciate that, and we need to give them more resources to work with and take it away from Beacon Hill.
Excellent. So I take it people in our viewing area and throughout the district are going to be seeing more and more of you. You've got some events scheduled, and you're going to be doing some fundraising.
I intend to be as active as I can and be out there as often as I can.
Costs a lot of money, unfortunately.
It does.
It's too bad it has to be so much money involved in politics. Right. If you look at the presidential race right now, it's disgraceful. All that money. Yep. All the good you could do with that money. Right. It's horrible.
It's a challenge, but it's the way the system that we have. And as bad as the system is, it's still better than any other system devised. And so I'm thankful for what we have in this country, and I'm thankful that we do have the freedom of speech to spend our money in this way, if that's how we choose to spend our money. And people I'm trusting will get behind me and support me financially as well as with their vote. And so that's what we're shooting for.
We have a habit here of reaching out to candidates early on. Like Shauna came here and she did very few people knew who she was when she came here the first time. And so we reached out and I know it's early on, but do you have any events planned yet, or?
Well, right now we're mostly just doing fundraising, but there's no fundraising events on the calendar per se. So we're doing a lot of house parties, just getting to know people in various parts of the district. We're attending other events and supporting some of the other candidates and meeting people there, and just working and helping all of our Republican candidates do well, whether it's whoever will be the eventual presidential nominee, Senator Brown, whoever the congressional nominee from this district will be, Dr. Childs and Sean Belot going after it. Whoever wins that, we certainly want to be as supportive as we can for either candidate, and just being there for them and just putting everybody together on the team. And it's an exciting season, and so we're just kind of getting to know people, sending out letters and rallying people to the cause.
Excellent. Now, if someone until you get all officially set up with a website and everything, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
The best way to do it is to send it to my church email. That's the one that I'm still functioning.
What is that?
It is Pastor JB, Pastor JB, at Comcast.net. So simple to remember.
Okay, maybe we'll get that on the screen.
And would love to hear from anyone that would have suggestions or would like to get together or just meet over a cup of coffee. Very happy to do that.
Now, I unintentionally skipped over a question.
Okay.
And I want to go back on something. We were talking about the MBTA and the fare increases, and there was one other question that I wanted to ask you. How do you feel about the way the MBTA handled the public hearings about these increases? They seem to, just a little background is they kind of went out of their way to make it at the most inconvenient time for the people in the area that actually use the service, because they're not going to be here.
Right.
Okay, they set it for, what time did they set it for?
They started it from 4:30 and they were going to stop it at 6:30. When most people are just getting off the train in Attleboro. Mansfield gets off a little bit earlier.
And what was their reasoning for it? It was something.
It was the GATRA.
The GATRA, which has
which
nothing
is the bus, which has nothing to do with, and the people using the GATRA don't use
MBTA.
Don't use the MBTA.
And they're not connected in any
they're
way,
not
shape,
really
or
connected.
Form, other than they have tires. I mean,
that's about the extent of it. So
I mean, what do you say to something like that?
Well, I think that, and I will give the senator credit on this, as well as the other reps of the area. They did scream loudly and got them to at least extend the hours. Now, my personal feeling is it probably shouldn't have started till 6:30, but it's at least they've got it going now till 8 o'clock or 8:30. I'm not really sure. Next Tuesday, it's going to be in the Attleboro High School auditorium. And so I would say to any citizens who feel strongly about that, that's a good place to go. And I know that when you get off the train here in Mansfield, that's a little bit of a drive down into Attleboro, but you know, we invite you all to come and visit us and show up there at the auditorium and let your voices
You got room for everybody?
I think that the auditorium will be room for everybody, but if it doesn't, well, we'll let the fire marshal worry about that. Let the MBTA know where we stand.
Okay, now this is a general comment, and that's if you are successful, you become Senator Bailey, and you're gonna hold office hours, are you?
I intend to hold office hours regularly.
Now, Shauna and I have discussed this, and I actually made a suggestion to her, and she actually took me up on the suggestion. Is a lot of senators, and I'm not saying ours, but just in general, they hold office hours like between 11 and 1, and most people,
can't get there.
Working people can't get there. I mean, it's fine for senior citizens, and it's a good time for for people that are around like that. Would you be willing to mix that up a little bit and hold them sometimes 8 o'clock at night?
I think you have to schedule regular office hours in the evenings on a regular basis in various locales. Because that's one of my complaints as well. I'm a citizen. I want to meet. Now, oftentimes my schedule is flexible, so I can go up to Beacon Hill and see them there in their offices. But I do think for the working population, working until 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, they need to be able to get out if they need to see their senator.
Would you be willing to do them on a weekend, like
on
a Saturday?
Of course.
That way all takers.
Yeah, there's a lot of events, that you have to attend, as a senator or as a rep, and so you need to just work things out. But I think that office hours need to be a priority, and if that means you miss a fundraiser here or there, or you miss an event here or there, it's about being
So you're willing to put them at all different hours then?
I think all different hours in all different locales. I don't think people from Walpole should have to drive to Attleboro to see me. I think that we need to find places in Attleboro to be there.
Any town hall will accommodate you. When I know, like the Mansfield Town Hall, they'll accommodate you when they have a school committee or a selectmen's meeting. There's always a place for you, and I'm sure every town hall can do that. For nights, Saturdays, I think you're on your own.
Right, but there are cafes and various other places where you can sit down with a cup of coffee and people can just come and
people
people can just come and sit down and have a chat, even if they don't have an issue they complain. They just want to talk and get to know you. I think those are great opportunities to do that. Another thing that I think is very important that a state senator do is show up at selectmen's meetings and city council meetings. I think you need to care about what's going on in the individual
on a regular
community.
basis,
on a regular basis. I think it needs to be a part of your schedule. A senator has staff. I think that whenever the senator can't be there, he makes sure that a staff member gets to as many as possible, so that most, at least once a month, the selectmen are either seeing the senator or one of his staff members, so they can ask questions and they can share any concerns that they have. They shouldn't have to be coming up to me at a parade or at a Little League opening day and saying, "Hey, I've got an issue." They need to be able to see me because our selectmen work hard too. They have full-time jobs. They don't have time to come up to Beacon Hill to see me when they have an issue. I need to be available to them in the evenings as well.
Very good. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. Personally, family life. Tell us a little about your home life. What's up with that? Tell us.
Okay. Well, I originally grew up in the Midwest, Michigan.
Michigan.
But I wasn't born. I was actually born in Portsmouth Naval Hospital. My father was a Navy veteran, or is a Navy veteran, and he was serving in naval forces at that time. In fact, I was born in 1962, so I'll be 50 in June.
Kid stuff.
Yeah, kid stuff. But during 1962, my father was part of the blockade that blockaded Cuba.
Oh, very nice.
And he served on a tin can destroyer that escorted one of the Russian ships out of port with those missiles. My father talks about being at his battle station all day long and running so close to the Russian ship that he could step over and step onto their deck.
Wow.
He said, one pull the trigger. He said, I could have started World War III.
Oh, boy.
I said, well, I'm glad you refrained.
Yes. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, so he was discharged in 1962. We moved back to Michigan, where my family is from. And I grew up there. My father was a Flint police officer, and so I grew up in a cop's home, and thankful for it. And so that law enforcement's been in the blood. My youngest brother is also a police officer. He's actually a Broward County Sheriff in Florida.